we've got a few minutes left, and really the idea is to just go around to the breakout hosts and just so everyone can get a sense of what was covered in the sessions. So Johnny and Nital, are you happy just to give us a quick synopsis of what went down in breakout room 1?
Yeah, great. I'm gonna pass to Nital. She finished the room by summarising it really well. So yeah, over to Nital.
Just checking. Back in. Oh, I can see. Nital, are you there?
Sorry, I've just got cut off. Sorry about that. Yeah, we had a really interesting session, and we summarized the whole session by kind of talking about how to reach out to a more diverse audience, or and reach out to your diverse communities, and this probably simply making your resources or making your objectives and aims a bit more accessible by looking at the predominant languages within spoken by that diverse community or by that BAME community, and that is one of the first steps. Also kind of getting in contact with your local faith centers to be able to reach out that much more. I know there's it's a tried and tested kind of test, if you will, where if you reach out to your local community, you're able to kind of look at it from the grassroots. You're able to speak to the community. You're able to identify what it takes for that community, you know, in particular, I'd say the BAME community, to be involved in some of your initiative projects, and kind of getting an insight, a kind of different insight into some of your project, if you will, because I know one of the core reasons one of the core things why this community may not get involved is because of I'd say language barriers or confidence issues. We talked about upskilling. There's a project that is going on where many members of the BAME community are looking at upskilling to develop their confidence, to be able to articulate themselves a bit more, to get involved in management roles or anything like that. And we also kind of looked at funding applications, about you know, how you know, it would a translated application work, and how would we articulate. So we explored all of that. So I just kind of finished off with some of the tips of that really work, and that would be just to review your resources, review your objectives, and make them more accessible to that community. So yeah, that was us.
Thank you so much, Nital. That's
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot there, but definitely a final kind of proposition about reviewing the resources and objectives, and thinking about how they register, and how they would yeah, I suppose register with groups that outside of, I suppose, your comfort area. So Dorothy, are you happy just to give a quick summary of what came out of our session?
Yes, I'll do so. I spoke about the importance of outreaching to, particularly to people of colour. We focused in on our how do you attract Black communities to cooperatives, and we picked up on the comment that Johnny had made about passive co-op development outreach, and the fact that we need to actively reach out to people if we want them to be involved. We talked about the fact, we ended on the fact, a comment from me, which is I said that I feel that cooperatives should be low key, that they should run in the background of what we do, that we don't need to go ta-da about the co-op movement all the time. It should just be accepted. It should just be there. And that we shouldn't be necessarily seeking outputs all the time, but looking for outcomes. We should be seeking to develop communities. And if we develop co-ops from those, registered cooperatives, then that is a whole nother thing. And I put forward the argument that cooperatives should be seen as a verb, not as a noun. It should be seen as something that does, that changes things, not that just something that is, that exists. And that we need more policy around cooperatives and cooperative development. We need more advisors. We need more Black people, more people of colour within the movement. If you want to attract people of colour, then you need to show them that there are other people there like them. And we need for there to be actually a philosophy of cooperation. We need for there to be funding for this, that otherwise what we're doing an awful lot of the time is that we're swimming upstream. We're swimming against the current because we're trying to do something, but the overall prevailing economic system and political arguments operate against us, which make it that we do so much great work, but we seem to be standing on the spot. So that may sound like a lot of negativities, but it wasn't. It's positive. We're positive about the co-op movement. We're positive about how it changes communities and how it can help people to control their work, their communities, their lives, and why we need therefore to promote this, but in different, more low-key community ways, and why we need the support of funders to allow us to do that, instead of them always saying, you've got 3 years and you need to produce 20 co-ops by the end of it. That's not the way forward.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. And I know we've got a few funders in the room, so hopefully that's useful food for thought. And yeah, I'm definitely sign up to the co-ops as a more low-key way of working. I think is really valuable way of thinking about things. So the final session was Shauna, Rachel, and Zul. I don't know which of you is happy to just give us a quick overview, but feel free to jump in.
I could, and then do you want to jump in, Zul, if I miss anything?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
So yeah, basically gave an overview of Cooperation Town overall, how we started, a bit of a blast back to 18 months ago, pre-COVID, pre-general election results, and how much has happened since. And then we also got that like on the ground side of things from Zul, so what's going on in Preston and that feeling of being a couple of weeks before you launch and that pre-development. And then same as what was just being said, really, we were very much like started to discuss the keeping things simple and keeping things low key in the sense of avoiding loads of bureaucracy. And there was some practical things around like, how do we, get food delivered? Where does it go? What does weekly payment look like? So yeah, and then the main thing is to get going. Usually you'd say go speak to 10 neighbours, then come back. In this instance, I think it's you've got the info, feel free to ask me more questions. And yeah, go off, share that information with those community anchors, people like Zul. But Zul, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thanks. You've stolen everything from me, Shauna. Yeah, just to add, I think we just spoke a bit about sort of in particular, a live organisation like ourselves, which was part of the Community Anchor programme, just to talk about our distance travelled in terms of where we started and some of the challenges that we faced in terms of talking to our local communities around that change of culture, where we're shifting from the customary food banks and moving across to food cooperatives. We talked a bit, had a conversation around legal structures, and we also talked about in terms of how we were upskilling the local residents. So yeah, thank you.
Amazing, thank you to everyone that hosted and contributed in the breakout rooms. It sounded like there was a lot of topics and thoughts that got fleshed out. So and we'll make sure that the recordings get shared as well. So I think the last thing to do before we go on our separate ways is just to hand over to Ian Chambers, who's going to talk to us about next month's session. I can't believe it, we're in May already. Well, we will be very soon. Or is it Bob?
Shall I go, Bob? Yeah. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm gutted actually that I've not been able to be in all of today's session. I jumped into that last room at the end, and it just seemed really interesting. But I had to speak at another Zoom. Yeah. So it's food and particularly community food next month. As you can see on there's a video lined up, and we'll hear from Gateshead Community Organisation and get that view, particularly on COVID. and the COVID experience. I've got hopefully 3 speakers lined up and to do rooms, and I may well do a room as well. We've got Martin Yarnick, who's got a kind of dual interest. He's a Churchill Fellow, and he's done research on community food hubs in the USA and Italy, which should be quite an interesting perspective. Obviously, the USA, a lot of what we get here, the USA have been doing it already, not necessarily well, but they've been doing it. And Italy is obviously a fascinating food place because of the kind of high level of farming that carries on. And he's also interested in sort of deliberative democracy. So there's that, I think it's been spoken about today a little bit about how do you engage people and allow people to be part of these decisions rather than coming down with your, brilliant ideas, if you like. We've got Kay Johnson from the Larder in Preston, who some of you will know. I've known Kay since I was about 16, and she's currently sunning herself in Egypt and working from Egypt, which is genius. And she probably will do the call. She'll still be in Egypt at the time. So Kay's got a massive long history, and is a sort of leader in community food in many different ways, and is always interesting. Last night she was telling me something about the blockchain and community food. I don't understand the blockchain, but she's working on it. So I'll be fascinated if she can include that, and she's hoping to next time. And then we've got Claire or Becky from Squash Liverpool, which is a venue in Toxteth. It's been going over 10 years. They have a very interesting 100-year plan outlook. And they've also, really discovered lots of stuff about diversity within community food hubs and how to involve everybody in it. So really looking forward to it. I'm hoping to speak again a little bit about what we're talking today about the infrastructure of community and regions, and whether it is a question of having to come up with a vehicle, an incorporated vehicle, or can it be done through cooperation, and can you arrange it so that there's enough trust involved that you don't necessarily have to set up lots of structures, and can apply together and work together and get councils to trust that way of working. So yeah, looking forward to it, and hope some of you can come.
Amazing, thanks Ian. And that's on Thursday the 27th of May at 10:30. I think you can register now, or you will be able to very soon, so make sure you get that in your diaries. So yeah, I think that's it. It's 12 o'clock, and I don't want to speak anymore because I basically want Mavis Staples to take over, because it's a great track and I want you all to listen to it. Bob, I don't know if there's any last words from you. No, sorry.
I said it all. I was introducing the track to say goodbye.
Okay.
Up on the screen, it's up, coming up, and I'll stop the share now, play the music out, and give each other away. Thanks so much, Simon, and everyone.
Well, thanks everyone. It's been great.
Johnny, that was brilliant, and looking forward to the next one, Ian. So hang on, I just need to do one thing. Off we go. Thanks all.
Sometimes I get so worried, I don't know what to do, but all the things